Greetings and welcome to Firefly and the Willow Yoga. I'm Rebecca. In today's class, we'll be focusing on poses that open the hips and strengthen the core and legs. There'll be lots of opportunities for Vinyasa in today's class, so feel free to take those if you like, or you can follow me and come right back to Downward Facing Dog. I won't be using any props for today's class, but please keep your props handy in case you need them. Take a moment, gather what you need, and I'll see you on the mat.
We will start today in Sukhasana. So go ahead and find your comfortable seat on your mat. And you can sit cross-legged, or if you prefer to sit in Virasana up on a block, either way is okay. And once you find your way to your comfortable seat, just take a moment to consciously stack your vertebrae right on top of each other, sitting up nice and tall. Allow your hands to be relaxed. Maybe allow your eyes to close down and take your gaze down to the floor. And bring a little sensation of a smile in your mouth. Allow your breathing to settle down. Perhaps consciously taking some deeper breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Allow your shoulders to relax away from your ears. And allow your jaw to be relaxed, just settling in here. Taking your attention now to the sounds that are around you in the room, to the feeling of the floor supporting you. Now feeling a little bit more connected, a little bit more present in our bodies. We'll take our fingertips out to the side, inhaling as we sweep the arms up overhead, really reaching up through the fingertips. And then exhale, bringing hands to heart center. If you're sitting cross-legged, take your hands and close your legs gently. And we're going to switch around onto the back. Rolling down slowly onto the back. Allow your knees to follow you. Bringing your knees closer into the body. Be rolling from side to side just a little. And we'll take the hands and interlace the fingers around the right knee, pulling the right knee into the chest, or maybe a little bit out to the side, flexing through both feet, and then extending the left leg up towards the ceiling, really pressing out through the left heel. Inhaling here, and then exhaling slowly, slowly, allowing that left heel to travel down to the mat. Bracing with your core, using your exhale. And then once that left heel finds the mat, we'll drag the left heel toward the tail here, allowing the left sole of the foot to find the floor, and taking the right ankle to the top of the left foot, pressing the right knee away. Taking a big inhale here on your next exhale, lift that left sole of the foot from the floor, maybe interlacing the fingers behind the thigh. Shoulders and neck are nice and long and relaxed, stretching the outside of the right thigh. And then allow that left sole of the foot to find the floor. Unwind the legs. And then bring the knees back into the chest, rolling out through the lower back. Interlacing the fingers around the left shin this time, pulling that left knee into the chest or just slightly outside the body, extending the right leg up towards the ceiling of the sky, pressing out through the right heel, inhaling here, and then on your exhale, slowly, slowly releasing the right leg down to the floor. Once the heel finds the floor, dragging that right heel back in towards the tail. Right sole of the foot finds the floor, and the left ankle comes to the top of the right thigh. Pressing the left knee away, allowing the hip to open. And then again, keeping that left knee moving away on your next inhale. Take your next inhale, and on your next exhale, lift the right leg, taking the fingers behind the leg. Reclined pigeon, keeping both feet flexed here to protect the knees. And then we'll release the right leg back down to the floor, unwinding the legs and bringing the knees back into the chest, rolling a little from side to side. So we're going to cross the right knee over the left knee. So here we're keeping the thighs really sandwiched close to each other. The feet are coming out to the sides. And if you can reach back and grab the big toes, keeping the knees stacked and the thighs touching if you can, and pulling back against the toes, knowing that pulling back on the toes or even reaching the toes isn't necessary here, only an option. So if you have a regular yoga practice, you may recognize this pose. This is Gomukhasan legs or cow face legs, often done sitting up, but here we're doing it reclined. And then allow yourself to release the toes or feet, unwind the legs. And we'll cross the knees in the other direction. And then maybe reach out for those toes. Exhaling as we pull back gently, or just allowing gravity to do the work. And then release the toes, unwind the legs. One last time, pulling the knees into the chest, rolling on the lower back. And then releasing the soles of the feet down to the floor. We're going to pull the heels just as close to the tail here as we can, setting up for bridge pose. So taking both hands next to the hips here, you can choose whether you lift on your inhale or your exhale. I am going to lift on my inhale. So inhaling, bringing the hips up, lifting the chin slightly. Exhale, rolling down the spine, pulling the lower belly in slightly as you do so that the spine connects to the mat. Once again, pressing down through the palms, inhaling, hips come up. Exhale, lower belly engages, rolling down one vertebra at a time. One more time, inhale, hips up. Exhale, rolling down one vertebra at a time. And now keeping this flowing bridge, this time as we raise the hips, we're going to bring the arms up overhead, reaching out through the fingertips, lifting the chin slightly. Exhale, rolling down one vertebra at a time. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Big, deep breath here. Exhale. Inhale one more time. And exhale. Taking the hands behind the head now, or allowing the hands to be across the chest, up to you. On our next inhale, we're going to lift the shoulders from the mat. And exhale slowly, 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 letting the air out with control, releasing back down to the mat, keeping those heels close to the body. Inhale to rise. Exhale, release down slowly. So almost everyone knows crunches. But to do crunches in this way, consciously and slowly with the breath, inhale to rise. That's what makes this motion different and what makes this motion yoga. Twice more here. Inhale to rise. Exhale, lowering down slowly. Last one. And release. Stretching the arms and legs out long. Stretching those abdominal muscles out. And then releasing the hands back down. We'll bring the knees back into the chest. And this time we're going to reach through the knees, grabbing the toes or the outsides of the feet and taking the feet up towards the ceiling, coming into happy baby. You can find a little motion here in your happy baby if you like. And then we'll bring that to stillness. We're going to release the left hand and the left leg, extending that left leg up towards the ceiling, pressing out through the heel, just as we did before, keeping the right leg in happy baby. And again, on the next exhale, lower that left leg down to the floor, keeping this half happy baby on the other side. Extending that left leg out long. Maybe your heel finds the floor, maybe it hovers just a little bit here. Just feeling how this changes and deepens happy baby on the other side. And now bringing the right toes in towards the midline, releasing the toe. We'll bring that left foot back into the chest, reaching through the legs again, coming into happy baby. And then keeping the left leg bent this time, extending the right heel up towards the ceiling. Big inhale here. And as you're exhaling, slowly lowering right leg, pulling back on the left shin or outside of the foot or toe. Half happy baby. Big deep breaths. Here's the big hip opener. And now releasing those left toes in towards the midline, letting go of the toes. We'll bring the knees back to the chest, and you can choose now how you can come up to seated for a moment. You can roll to one side, or you can grasp the outsides of the feet here and roll up to seated. Once you've come up to seated, we're going to switch around and come onto all fours. So bringing yourself onto all fours, you can allow your toes to touch. Your knees can be wide or close together. We'll reach the hands out a couple of handprints and sink the hips back, coming into child's pose. Taking some deep breaths in our child's pose here. If the knees are wide, allowing gravity to open the hips a bit, or if they're close together, allowing your breath and gravity to stretch the lower back. Filling your belly up like a balloon. One more breath here. And then on your next exhale, we're going to swim the fingers around behind the lower back, interlacing the fingers and pressing the knuckles back and away, coming into a shoulder stretch here in our child's pose. Remembering this is just an invitation, so if this is uncomfortable for you or doesn't work in your body, you can stay in your child's pose. On your next exhale, allow the fingertips to release, bringing the hands back out in front. And then using your next inhale to help you rise up, pressing into the palms. We'll roll the toes under and shift the hips up, downward facing dog. Once you find your way up to your down dog, you can lower each heel one at a time. Walking your dog here, waking up the hamstrings. Bending the knees generously will really press that tailbone up towards the ceiling, pressing the mat away here. And then inhaling forward, we'll come into plank pose. You can come into plank on your toes with your heels pressing back, or you can come to half plank here. From plank or half plank, we will lower the knees, holding the elbows in close to the body and lower all the way down to the mat. Allowing the forehead to rest on the mat and taking the tops of the feet, pressing them into the floor, maybe lifting each foot just a little and really reaching it out and then allowing it to rest so that you're almost pulling back on the top of your mat with your feet. We're going to take the hands out next to the hips. Palms are facing up towards the ceiling or the sky. And then bringing the big toes together as we inhale, we're going to lift the feet and the shoulders and chest from the floor. So inhaling here, we'll come into Locust Pose. Really trying to bring those shoulder blades close together on the back. Gaze is down at the floor, right in front. Inhale here and exhale, release. Taking the fingertips around behind the small of the back, we'll interlace the fingers here. If you choose, you can keep the hands in the same position as before. If you've interlaced your fingers, as we are inhaling, we'll lift the feet again, pressing the knuckles back and away, stretching through the front of the chest. Holding here, lifting just a little more, bringing the shoulder blades together, engaging through the backs of the legs, and exhale, release. Bringing the hands back next to the chest, keeping them right in line with the breastbone here, pulling the elbows in. I'm going to press into the hands and pull back against the hands as we come into baby cobra. So engaging those hands, pulling back, inhaling up, baby cobra, tops of the feet, pressing into the floor. And once you found yourself into your baby cobra, allow yourself to hover your hands above the mat. for 3, 2, 1, and release. Take a moment here for a breath, maybe bringing the hands underneath the head. And then we'll take the hands next to the chest, pressing back up into our tabletop or all fours, and taking the hands a couple of handprints out in front, rolling the toes under. Find your way back into downward facing dog. Then really shifting that tailbone up towards the ceiling, pressing away from the mat. And then bending the knees generously, we'll take the gaze forward and walk the feet up towards the hands, coming into forward fold. This is our first forward fold of the practice, so keep your knees nice and bent here. Maybe you're walking your fingertips from side to side, or perhaps you come into a ragdoll. And then when you're ready, really rooting down through the feet, you can take the hands above the bent knees or perhaps to the waistline. Inhaling to come up with a flat back. Arms sweeping up overhead. And exhale, hands come to heart center. Take a moment here to make any adjustments that you need to make. Coming up to stand. And then we'll allow the fingertips to sweep down, inhaling the arms up overhead. This time taking the left wrist and the right hand, grounding down through that left foot and pulling that left arm out and over, opening that space between the lower ribs and the hips. Side stretch. Inhale to release back to center, grasping the right wrist and the left hand. And again, pulling up and over, grounding down through that right foot now. Inhale to come back to center, and exhale, hands come to heart center. Inhaling, arms come up overhead. And then as we're exhaling, we'll dive back down, forward fold. Planting both hands, you can step or float back to plank. Actually, step back to plank. We don't want to float back to plank. We float back, we come into chaturanga and not plank. And then taking your choice here, if you would like to come into a vinyasa, lowering down to the belly and taking a baby cobra or an up dog. And then shifting the hips back, coming into downward facing dog. We'll take a moment here for everybody to meet in downward facing dog. And then bending the knees, shifting the gaze forward. You can hop or walk or step up to the top of your mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up to stand. Hands to heart center. Inhaling, arms come up overhead. Exhale, coming back down, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Step back to plank or float back to chaturanga. Come through a vinyasa if you like, or hold it right here in plank. And then exhale back, downward facing dog. A couple of breaths here in downward dog. And then we're going to bring the big toes together, grounding down through the left heel as we allow the right heel to rise up from the mat. Bending that right knee, keeping the foot flexed and stacking the hips over each other, coming into three-legged dog. Opening the hip here, squaring the shoulders. And then on your next inhale, extending long through that right leg. And exhale, bringing the knee into the chest. Inhale, shifting the leg back out. And exhale, bringing that right foot in between the hands. Really grounding down into the feet here. We'll bring some lightness into the fingers as we inhale up into our high lunge. Reaching up through the fingertips, bending into that front knee, finding that stacking of the knee right over the ankle. Big deep breath here, exhaling, fingertips trailing back down to the floor. We'll drop that left knee down to the mat, keeping the right toes curled under, and then shifting the hips back, extending through the right leg, pulling those right toes back towards the face. Half splits here. Rolling back forward onto that right foot. We'll plant the left hand into the mat. You can choose here if you want to keep the left knee on the floor or allow it to rise. And then we'll inhale the arm open for an easy twist. Reaching up through the fingertips, inhale here. And then exhale, coming back to frame the foot. We'll bring that right foot back to the back. Here you can come through a vinyasa if you like, or simply shift up into downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths here in our down dog. Really imagining pushing all of the weight of the body back towards the heels, not being concerned with whether or not the heels are meeting the floor, but just getting that sensation of moving the body weight back towards the heels. And then after your 3rd breath, bringing the big toes together, inhaling, left heel comes up from the floor, bending at the knee, flexing the foot, stacking the hips, 3-legged dog, squaring those shoulders back down towards the mat. On your next inhale, extending long through that left leg. Exhale, bringing knee to nose. Inhale, extending that left leg back out long. And exhale, left knee comes in between the hands. Sorry, left foot comes in between the hands. Coming into our low lunge here. And then when you're ready, grounding down through the feet, finding that lightness in the fingertips, inhaling up. Coming into our high lunge, crescent lunge. Extending up long through the fingers. And then exhale, fingertips floating back down towards the floor, dropping that right knee, keeping the right toes tucked under. And as we're exhaling, dragging the hips back. Half splits, half Ardha Hanumasana, Ardha Hanumasana. Breathing into the back of that left leg. And then rolling back forward onto the left foot, planting the right hand on the ground and choosing if you'd like to lift the right knee or leave it planted on the floor. Inhaling, left arm comes open, easy twist. And on your next exhale, allowing that left hand to come back down to the floor, shifting the left foot out and back, and choosing if you'd like to come through your vinyasa, come directly to downward facing dog. And then allowing the big toes to touch. We'll allow the knees to come out wide on the mat, shifting the hips back and coming back into child's pose. Take a moment of rest here in child's pose. And then allowing your next inhale to carry you up from your child's pose, rolling the toes under, exhaling back into downward facing dog. We'll shift the gaze forward and bend the knees. You can walk or hop up to the top of your mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, releasing into this forward fold. And then from here, we're going to inhale up into chair pose. So sinking the hips down, grounding down through the feet. This pose also called fierce pose. And the arms can be up around the biceps or maybe extending out in front. You can even bring the hands to heart center. So just finding that place that works for you with the arms. On our next exhale, we'll bring the hands to heart center. We're going to come into a twist here. You can either do this with one hand on the knee and the hip, or you can take the elbow to the outside of the knee, coming into our prayer twist pose. Pressing the palms actively into each other, pressing the knee into the elbow, and trying to move the center of the chest toward the hands. Inhale to come back to center, and then coming into the twist on the other side. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, tilting back over into forward fold. From our forward fold, we'll plant our hands on the mat and take a step back with the right foot, allowing that right foot to come at a bit of an angle here as we set up for warrior two. So inhaling, we'll windmill the arms up, coming up into warrior two. Just take a moment here to check in with yourself and your warrior two, dropping the shoulders away from the ears, stacking the knee over the ankle, taking the gaze gently over those front fingertips and making sure you've got this nice stacking of the nose right over the belly button, right over the pelvis. Dropping the back hand, we'll inhale the front arm up, coming into reverse warrior. Inhaling back to warrior two, and then exhaling, coming into our extended side angle. Finding that nice line from the fingertips all the way out to the outer edge of the foot. From here, we'll inhale up into reverse triangle. So extending through the front leg, sweeping that other arm up overhead as we do for reverse warrior. And then inhaling, arms come down halfway. We'll shift the hips out to the side and drop into triangle. So maybe your hand is on the top of your foot, maybe on a block, maybe on the mat. Any place is fine except on the knee. So inhale here, we're going to extend the fingertips up towards the sky or the ceiling. And then as you exhale, allow that bicep to fall over the ear, really extending out long through the fingertips. Inhale, fingertips come back overhead. Exhale, fingertips extend out long, bicep next to the ear. So a flowing triangle here. Inhale, arm comes overhead. And exhale, release bicep over ear. And allow your next inhale to carry you all the way back up. And let the arms drop, feet come, toes rather, come back pointing forward. We'll roll the shoulders onto the back and exhale, bringing the chest forward, coming into wide leg forward fold. Inhaling to come up halfway. Exhale, releasing a little deeper into your fold. And then bending both knees, maybe taking the hands to the waistline or above the knees. Inhaling all the way up to stand. And we're going to turn that other foot out now, coming into our warrior two on the other side. So inhaling, arms come up halfway. And as you exhale, deepen into your warrior two. Bringing the weight into the outside edges of the feet, maybe turning the palms upward to bring the shoulders a little farther onto the back, and then turning only the hands down. Nice soft gaze, unfocused gaze. And then dropping that back hand, we'll scoop the front arm up. Reverse warrior. Maybe give yourself a little smile here. And on your next exhale, allow that front elbow to find the thigh, sweeping the top arm up over the ear, extending out nice and long here, keeping that knee stacked over the ankle. Inhaling up to reverse warrior. Exhale, arms come down halfway, shifting the hips out to the side and dropping down into your triangle on the side. Scooping those lower ribs up towards the ceiling, pressing the mat away with your feet, and then finding that flowing arm here. Inhaling to reach up tall. Exhale, dropping the bicep over the ear, reaching out through the fingertips. Inhale, arm comes up. Exhale, reaching that arm out long. Inhale, arm comes up. Exhale, arm over bicep, or bicep next to ear. And then on your next inhale, engaging everything. Coming back up all the way. Dropping the hands. Bringing all 10 toes back forward. Bringing the hands to the hip crease, dropping the chest forward. One more time, wide leg forward fold. This time we're going to take our forward fold into a bit of a twist. So you can take one hand and reach it over to the opposite shin or outside of the foot. And then we'll inhale, sweeping the other arm up overhead, coming into a wide leg forward fold twist. Big inhale here, and then exhale, allowing that arm to flow down, taking a hand to the other shin, and then inhaling the arm open wide. And exhale, bringing the hand back down to the mat. We'll inhale to rise up halfway. Exhale, release. And then inhale all the way up to stand. Hands sweep up overhead. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. Heel toe, those feet towards the center of the mat, or you can jump if you prefer. And we'll head back to the top of the mat. Inhaling the arms up overhead now. We'll exhale as we shift the hips back, coming back into chair pose. Holding our chair pose here. And then maybe lifting the heels. Bringing the heels up from the floor or leaving the heels down. It's up to you. Lots of variations here. None of them better or worse than any other. And on your next exhale, allow the heels to find the floor, hands come to heart center. Taking one more deep breath here, and then exhale, tilting back over, forward fold. Planting the hands, you can float back to chaturanga or step back to plank and choose if you'd like to come through your vinyasa here or not. And then exhale back into your downward facing dog. Once you've found your way into downward facing dog, we'll inhale the right heel up from the floor. Exhale, right foot comes in between the hands. Grounding down into the feet, inhaling, arms come up overhead, coming into our crescent lunge. On your next exhale, allow yourself to come to goddess arms or this football goal shape, peeling the elbows back. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hands float back down to the mat. Shifting that foot back, you can come into a vinyasa or come into downward facing dog. Once you've found your way into your down dog, inhaling the left heel up from the mat this time. Exhale, left foot comes in between the hands, pressing the feet away on the mat. Inhale, arms come up overhead, crescent lunge. And on your next exhale, goddess arms, peeling the elbows back. Inhale, shooting those fingertips back up overhead. And exhale, framing the left foot with the hands. Moving the left foot back and coming through a vinyasa. Or coming right back to downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths here in our down dog. And then bringing the big toes together. We'll drop the knees out wide. And exhale back into child's pose. Inhaling to rise up. I'm going to shift back onto the back. So you can choose how you get there. And back down onto the back. Rolling a little from side to side. And just as we started our practice here today with a reclined pigeon, we'll find a reclined pigeon here at the end. If you prefer to come into a pigeon, a regular pigeon sitting up, like feel free to take that now if you like. Otherwise, we'll let the left sole of the foot find the floor, bringing the right ankle to the top of the left knee and flexing that right foot, pressing the right knee away. And then on our next exhale, allowing that left foot to come up from the floor. And maybe you interlace the fingers behind the thigh, or perhaps you reach forward, interlacing the fingers around the shin, but always being careful of that area right underneath the knee where we have so many sensitive nerves. Flexing the feet here, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the neck. And we'll allow the left sole of the foot to find the floor. We're going to let that right leg continue its journey over the left, stacking the knees here. Inhaling, arms come open wide, and we're going to let that right leg drag the left leg over to the right side. Taking the gaze over the left shoulder. Remembering as always that if this causes any lower back discomfort, you can just unwind the legs and allow the knees to stack on top of each other. Inhaling will bring the knees back up and then unwind the legs here. Keeping that right sole of the foot on the floor now, taking the left ankle to the top of the right knee. Pressing the left knee away. And then on your next exhale, lifting the right sole of the foot from the floor and finding where you'd like to interlace the fingers. Finding that nice deep Ujjayi breath. Imagining breathing into the outside of the hip. And then letting that right sole of the foot find the floor. Left leg continues its journey over, stacking the knees. Inhaling, arms come open wide. And then let that left knee drag the right knee over towards the left. Taking the gaze over the right shoulder. And then inhaling, knees come back up overhead. I'm going to release that left knee from on top of the right. And then we're going to turn over onto our right side, allowing our head to be relaxed on our arms for just a moment. Knees are bent. And then taking that left heel in towards the tail, I'm going to take the left arm to the top of the left foot, coming into a thigh stretch here. And you can extend that right leg long along the floor if you like, or not. It's up to you. And once you've found your way here, see if you can bring your knees parallel, pressing forward just a bit through that left hip. And allow that to release. You can roll over to your other side, or if you prefer, you can sit up and shift yourself around. Coming down to rest on your other side. And then bending that right knee, taking the right hand to the top of the right foot and pressing forward through that right hip, stretching the front of the right thigh. And allow that to release in your hands, gently pressing yourself back up into a seated position and finding your comfortable sitting pose. I'm going to practice a little bit of Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing, here at the end of our practice. So allow your shoulders to be relaxed. We're going to take the right hand and make it into this sort of a Y shape. The finger, little finger and the thumb extended. You can take that thumb to the right nostril, using it to close that right nostril. Allow your breath to exhale fully. And then inhale deeply in through the left nostril. And then using the pinky finger, close both nostrils for a moment at the top. And then release the right nostril, keeping the left one closed. Exhale here. Inhale through the right nostril, closing both, pausing at the top. And then releasing the left. Exhale. Coming through this round of breath a few times on your own, remembering to pause at the top, closing both nostrils, and then open the other side of the nose. And inhale fully until you switch again. Nadi Shodhana, very relaxing breath. Also good for the sinuses. Come through one more rounded breath here. And then on your next exhale, release both nostrils, allowing the hand to fall back down to the knee. And we'll use the hands to gently close the knees, shifting back onto the back and coming into your version of Shavasana. You might extend the arms and legs out long. Or maybe you'd like to find a constructive rest pose or reclined Baddha Konasana. Just taking a few moments here to relax in silence and in peace at the end of your practice. Take a nice deep breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes, or maybe drag your thumb slowly across each fingertip. On your next inhale, extend your arms out overhead and stretch out nice and long if you like. And then roll yourself gently to one side. Pausing for a moment. And choosing to stay here a little longer if you wish, or gently pressing yourself up to a seated position, allowing your eyes to stay closed or your gaze lowered down to the floor. Bring your hands to heart center, or perhaps covering your heart with your hands. I'll leave you with these parting words today from yoga teacher Alexa Silvaggio. Your body is the only place you have to live. You only get one of them, and they're temporary. Be kind to it, nourish it, move it, say nice things to it, and dare I say, love it. It's a miracle. And so are you. Thank you for joining me for this practice today. May your yoga follow you off the mat.